Okay, what we're doing here is we're trying to make 3 boards for our project. I'll already have them cut to width for you. So you need 2 4-inch wide boards and then 1 6-inch wide boards. So the 4-inch wide boards, you're going to have one at 16 inches, and then you'll have another one 3 inches longer at 19 inches. So like I said, they'll already be cut to width. And you're just going to come over to the miter box and you're going to have to square both ends. So if you see on this board right here, I have a line I drew right here with my square, and I drew another line right here. I always want you cutting the end of the board off because the end of the board is usually not square and it's usually messed up a little bit. So cut one end off, and then you're going to have your 16 inches down, and then you'll cut your other end off. Notice that I'm using my supports. This is kind of a longer board, so I have some supports. My hand should never, pass these margin of safety lines. The first couple times you use a miter box, I want to be standing right here, right next to you, to make sure that you're doing it correctly. So come get me, wait a minute, and I will watch you do this. So I'm going to cut these 2 really quick. I'm going to bring it down and look at it. Alright, so your 6-inch wide piece, 6 inches this way, 16 by this way. This is the piece you get to carve something cool in. So this is an opportunity to carve your family name in there, something neat that you'll be able to hold on to for a long time. Don't just put something goofy in there like Go Tigers or something. Actually give it some thought. Come up with something kind of nice. You could put the year that your family started, or you could put some other special something else on there. Once you get this programmed, the instructions on the PowerPoint will teach you how to do all the programming there, but you need to get it to fit the holder. So this holder right here holds the board while the machine router is in your design. In order to get that to work out, you have to make this board actually fit right down in here. If it doesn't fit right down in here, you're going to have to either sand the edge or sand the end to where it fits into this spot. So once you have your board cut to length, you have your programming done, you have to get that to fit this holder. Alright, I'm over here on the edge sander. So this is a good sander where I could sand the end just a little bit here. I'm putting it up against this fence here. Or I could sand the edge here, and this will help it fit that holder that I just showed you. So I can just turn it on real gently. I can press up against that, and that will help sand that down lengthwise. I can do the edge a little bit right here. You could also use the disc sander. So over here, if that sander is really busy, I could use a disc sander. So the disc sander is a little bit trickier because the board's a little bit wider. But I like to use the miter gauge on here. I slide this in here, and then I just fire this up. Really lightly taking off the board so that it fits. I would not sand, please don't sand the edge of your board on the disc sander. This part here, don't sand that. It's not going to work good. So skip sanding the edge on the disc sander, but if you wanted to sand the end the way I just did, that would work. Alright, my board fits the holder. I'm getting ready to router my design in there. I have it on the computer. Once you get it on the computer, you can bring it, let me know and I'll look it over. I want to make sure it's good to go, and then I'll send it back to the machine. This board can't wiggle around in here. If it does wiggle around, you can get some real thin pieces of scrap wood that you can find laying around, and you can jam it into these spots here, and that will help keep the board from moving around. We don't want it to move around. When you're designing your design here, pick a font that is really smooth. Don't pick a font that's really jagged or really goofy. It's really hard on the machine if it's a really jagged font. It's gonna make it work pretty hard. So when we put it on this machine, I'll help you run it, and you can stand here and watch it. It's really fascinating. It's working off the X and the Y coordinates, and the computer software actually plots all the points for you, so you don't have to do that, and then this machine just knows how to read the points. So I'm going to carve this one out really quick. You can kind of watch it a little bit. I'm going to fire up the when this comes off the machine, you can bend some sandpaper here. You can kind of clean it up a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer. You can even sand across this with the grain a little bit, and that will clean it up. So my next step, I'm going to try to cut these corners at a 45 to make it a little bit more decorative. So I'm just going to take a square here, and you could use a tape measure too, or a ruler, and I'm just going to mark it at 2 inches here. And then I can position this square. It's at a 45-degree angle already, and then I can just trace it. Oh, I slipped a little bit, and then that will be my 45. So watch me do it again on this side. I'm just measuring down 2 inches. 2 inches is pretty good. And then I'm going to turn this at the 45. See how it has that edge on here? That's what you're going to rest up against the board. I'm going to hold it down and then draw a 2-inch line. So that's kind of my goal. It's going to dress it up a little bit. I'm going to cut these on the bandsaw. So I'm going to walk over here. So I'm just trying to get this as close as I can. I like this line in the table. That helps me find a nice straight line. I just put this on the table. I'm going to keep my hands way back from the cutting surface. I'm going to turn this on. Alright, so there's one. I just cut that one off. Now this one I'm going to flip around here. So see how my hands still aren't close at all. They're still way back. I'm going to cut just a little bit off here. So now this is saving the line, so you can still see the line after I'm done. That means I saved the line. So now I can go over to the sander and clean this up a little bit. Alright, so now I need to sand this rough edge. So I just came off the bandsaw. I'm going to sand this rough edge. I'm going to be kind of careful. I'm going to use this fence still, and I'm just going to kind of ease into it. What I don't want to do is be way back here and catch a corner. So I'm going to put both sides over here and sand those. And then while I was at it, this is my bottom board. This is the one that's going to go underneath the part that we carved. So for this board, we're just going to cut this down about 1.25 inches. So that one I measured 2 inches. This one I'm just going to measure 1.25 inches down, so it'll be a little bit smaller of a chamfer. Chamfer is a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to show you on this end of the sander here how I take care of this. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm just going to push it in there. Okay, and I'm trying to get it too hot, so I push a little bit and give it a break. And what I'm trying to do is create a little bit of a cove. It gives it a little more of a decorative look to it. So I'm just using the end of the sander there to do that. You see where it's getting really burnt right there? When you get to that point, give me a call over and I'll help you adjust this table so I can move it up to some better sandpaper, and that'll make things go faster for you. Alright, I have my top board here, my bottom board, and now I need to have my middle shelf right here. So in order to make this a little nicer, I'm going to put a radius on the corner. It's going to be 1.5 inch radius. So I just take my compass and I'm going to set this at 1.5 inches. So I have my point, the distance from my point to here will be 1.5 inches. So I make that mark, and then I take my square here, and I can measure over 1.5 inches, and I'm trying to find a plus location, like the center point. So I measure 1.5 inches this way, and then I measure 1.5 inches this way, and I'm trying to find the intersection between those 2.5 inches. So you kind of see I have my plus sign. That's going to be 1.5 inches this way, 1.5 inches this way, and then I can take my compass and I put the point right in the center of my intersection. And then I can just trace this radius with my compass. So I just use the compass there to draw this radius. So you can kind of see it. It's just in pencil though. I just draw that radius. So then I can go on the bandsaw, and what I'm trying to do on the bandsaw, just like before, I'm just trying to mainly just cut this straight across, okay? I don't need to follow that radius perfect. Don't use Sharpies on wood normally. I just wanted to show you a little more emphasis. So I'm almost just making a straight cut on the bandsaw, and then I can round it on the sander a little bit. Okay, so instead of trying to make a curved cut on the bandsaw, I'm just kind of cutting it off, and then I will round it on the sander. So I prefer, when I'm rounding a radius, I prefer the disc sander over the edge sander for that. So I'm just going to turn this on. I'm always using this side here, so you can kind of see now I'm rounding it up. So now watch me do this one. I'm going right up to my pencil mark. Alright, my next step is to drill some holes for the hooks. So this is the bottom board, the board that'll be on the bottom. I want to put 3 pegs in there to help support something. I think for like hats or maybe a coat or something. So because we don't have a lot of room here, we just space these out. So you want to find the center here. So, you know, this is 16, so you're going to find the center, make a mark. Make a mark both ways, so it's, you know, it's almost a plus here. And then you want to make your measurements on the ends. I just went in 3 inches from the end. And now look here, if you look close, you can tell, look at this one is bigger than this one. So double check your measurements. So I'm guessing I need to fix that measurement over here so it's equal. I probably only went 2 inches there, but I see a lot of kids will rush through this and they'll drill them off center, and then it looks pretty goofy. They have to redo it. So take your time on these measurements, make sure they're evenly spaced so they look good. And then your next step is you're going to find the pegs. Check with me first, because sometimes we change different peg sizes. But if you look at the peg here, we have the shoulder. That's what we're trying to drill the drill bit. And then we use these bits here. These are called Forstner bits. We keep them right in with the other drill bits. And you're going to drill down to about this shoulder here. So you're going to drill about to that shoulder, which equals about here. But these should line up. If you take these together, they should be the same diameter. So this diameter and this diameter. So this one happens to be a 3/8. If you've taken your drill test safety, you could use a drill press, or you can use a hand drill. So I'm just going to put this in the chuck, and this just, you turn it clockwise to tighten it, or counterclockwise to loosen it. I need to make sure my drill is going forward and not instead of reverse. So if it isn't drilling right, you're probably going the wrong way. So I'm going to put this on the center of my plus, and then I'm going to drill down. Okay, I don't have to drill super deep because I'm only trying to get to that shoulder. So I'm going down there. Alright, remember the drill bit will be really hot after you drill, so you want to be sure not to touch it. I have to go a little deeper. Okay, so now looking at that, that hole here, this peg should fit in all the way. So we want it to where the pegs fit in all the way flat, nice and level. So if I give you the pegs, try not to lose them because they actually cost us like $1/4 a piece. So if you could keep track of those, would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and drill all my holes now, all 3 of them, before I even put this thing together. Okay, so now at this point, I have all 3 of my boards. There's a lot of different things I can do to them at this point. I can take my orbit sander, and notice I picked a white table, one with all the holes in it. I can turn that on, and I can just sand the face of these boards. So I'm just trying to sand the face really nice, get off my pencil marks, make this look nice and smooth. There's all these little tiny ripples that need to go away. I can do this face on this board too, and I can do the back side. This is my middle board, the shelf board. Okay, and then I can sand this one on the face too, get that all ready. So I'm just going across these nice and easy. I'm not doing really the ends or the edges with these, just the faces of the boards, the smooth parts on the top. Then I can router it. So if you've passed your router safety test, I'm looking for just a really basic router bit, one that's just has a profile that's round. And then I can router all these edges. So I can go across here, router all these. I don't want to router this flat edge here, okay, because we want that to be a nice straight fit. So I don't want to router this flat edge either, but I can router around here. All right, and then once again on this one, I can router around here. This piece here, I can router all the way around here, then I can flip it over and do this side. So it kind of gives it a nice rounded edge that goes all the way around. They call that a bull nose, so that looks nice. So that would be routering. Now my next step after I do those, and I could do this first too. If you're waiting for the router, you could do this step first. I need to get some pocket holes in here so I can screw this together. So I want to make sure my design is on the part where I won't be drilling some holes. So this is called the Kreg Jig. So this jig helps drill some angled holes, and that's how we'll assemble this. So I'm going to flip this around here. I have to use a special bit for this. So this bit is a little bit unique, and we only have a couple of these, so we're really trying not to break that point off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my board under here to kind of balance it. I'm going to drill a hole here. All right, and then I can measure this distance. So I'm trying to drill another hole just like that over here that's the same distance. So whatever that happens to be. The next part I can drill holes on is this part. So I want to flip it over so I don't see my holes for my pegs. And then I want to drill a couple holes in this part. I want to increase this measurement though, because I don't want the holes to line up perfect, or else we'll end up, we don't want them to line up perfect because then the screws will hit each other when we screw it on. So we kind of want to rotate that over just a little bit so they're different. So that's just a matter of drilling some holes. It's pretty easy to do. So I'm going down to this collar, hits the bottom of this. I have it high speed, but I don't squeeze the trigger all the way. And then you're just gonna, drill your hole. So that's what that looks like. It needs to be nice and flat on this base. Okay, your board needs to lay flat on here. If it doesn't, it's gonna drill the holes too high up. So now I'm gonna make this one. Remember, I moved it over a little bit more. So I want that distance to be a little further on my next board. Drill down. There's one. I'm going to lift this out, move it over here. I can measure that distance again.